So you went gray. You survived the skunk stripe. Everybody clapped. And then Tuesday morning came and you looked in the mirror and said, now what? Going gray wasn't the hard part for me. The hard part for me was realizing I didn't lose something. I suddenly had choices, but I didn't have a script as to what those choices were and what to do with them. Hi, I'm Ann Johnson. Y'all ready to chat? If you're feeling a little lost after going gray, don't worry. It's not a crisis. It's called wisdom. Today, we're not talking about purple shampoo. We're talking about you and what happens to you after the transformation. You're going from hair to soul. Here's something nobody tells you at the salon. Just because you go gray on the outside doesn't mean you have to go gray on the inside. But when you start covering up your roots, you suddenly realize you were covering up some other things too. For me, the quiet after the transformation was the loudest part. No more checking the mirror to see if there were any gray roots showing. Suddenly, I had time and space, and I had to ask myself a question I'd been keeping to myself for years. And the question, why am I spending so much time trying to look younger? Once you ask that question, that's where the real work begins. Here's the unfortunate reality that often happens after going gray. It's called the invisibility cloak. In a culture completely obsessed with anti-age, you may feel at times like you have this selective invisibility cloak. For instance, you walk into a store to buy something and the clerk is looking behind you at the 30-year-old. Meanwhile, you're standing there holding your sweater like an invisible ghost. At first, that stings. Kind of messes with your head. And you start thinking, am I fading away? Am I missing out? Did I make a mistake? But here's what actually surprised me. Selective invisibility can actually be a superpower. I'm not invisible. I'm just no longer performing to a room who doesn't deserve me. When no one is watching to see if you're aging gracefully, you stop performing and you stop auditioning for approval. It doesn't mean going pioneer woman with no makeup and no facial cream and not doing your hair. What it means is no longer chasing youth. You're not going to be suckered by the anti-aging ads. This is your time to be. And most importantly, you choose who you're going to show up for. That's freedom. That's when you sparkle. Not for an audience, but for you. Speaking of sparkle, I would sparkle if you would tap that subscribe button. We're building a community, and I'd like you to be part of it. Thank you. It's time to rebuild the wardrobe and the attitude. Let's talk clothes. Let's talk makeup. Because gray hair, it does change everything. That beige sweater that was timeless, that you thought you'd wear forever, you now look like oatmeal with an opinion. And your makeup, the old way can look blah. You'll need an update. But this isn't about colors. This is about permission. Going gray is an opportunity to rebuild your identity from the ground up. I stopped dressing for who I used to be and started dressing for who I am now. Because who I used to be doesn't live here anymore. I like who lives here now. The new Ann loves color, loves comfort, and cares more about strength, not the size on a pair of jeans. So here's the question. When you open up the closet, are you dressing for the woman you are now, or are you dressing for the woman from the past that you've been chasing? The same goes for makeup. Are you applying it to the woman you are now or the 30-year-old from 20 years ago? One of those women deserves some respect. Now, that doesn't mean not looking your best. You want to look your best. It means understanding a new parameter and what looks best on you now. It's time for the wisdom rebrand. We spent our 20s and 30s working on our career, taking care of children, trying to meet all these expectations. Not to mention the years we sweated through menopause, wondering why nobody told us about this. This phase is a rebrand. Gray hair is a signal, not of a decline, but of how we survived. I mean, let's face it, you've lived through heartache, loss, disappointment. You've lived through days you never thought in a million years you could get through, but you did it. You've earned the right to say no. You've earned the right to stop wasting energy. Not because you're going to do less, but because you're only going to do what matters. You're not past your prime. You're past your tolerance for nonsense. So if you're standing in front of the mirror, wondering, what now? I'm going to give you the answer. Whatever you want. The die is gone. The transition is over. And now you're in the driver's seat. So tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you started doing since you went gray? And tell me anyway, even if it's because you turned 50, you don't have to be gray. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for the chat.